know, I had got Gorilla Glue all over my hands earlier, so hopefully that won't interfere with my ability to shuffle cards and do the finger flutters. But if you happen to see any funny looking spots on my hands, oh, thank you, Kayla's lovely. Yes, I really like this hat. I just got it not too long ago. I'm so glad like 90s style is back. Took long enough, I guess. Today we're going to be reading for the earth signs. So that's Taurus. Happy birthday, Taurus. Virgo. And Capricorn. Capricorn. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this. Oh, no kidding. It's one of my really good friends' birthdays today. It's a great day for a birthday. I don't know where you are, but it's really nice here. Like, the weather's been really good this week. I would imagine two Tauruses in a relationship together is like a really stable relationship. So I'm just going to consecrate the space by sprinkling a little bit of this in the area. Oh, thank you. I'll tell them. The cards that I'm going to be using this week is the Tarot Mukha. And when I go over to the members side of the channel to do the crystal scrying, I will be using this big chunk of smoky quartz. Now, I do want to mention that the crystal scrying videos are not just for crystal scrying, but I will also field questions that you might have. And you can donate if you want to, but it's not necessary. So if that's something that interests you, you are cordially invited. But your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated in whatever form it takes. So I'm going to get started with the sign of Taurus. All right, Taurus, if you want to go ahead and set your intention for the reading. Let any thoughts or concerns that you have rise up to the forefront of your mind and just wait there patiently. And if these are things that cause you stress or any kind of discomfort, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. And as you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source into every fiber of your being. And then as you exhale, just do a little bit of a body scan, starting with the tips of your toes, all the way up through the crown of your head. And as you exhale, just release any discomfort, any anxiety, any stress, any tension that you are feeling in your body at this time. Okay, so write down my timestamp. And we can get started. So before I begin, I do want to say you have a lot of major arcana coming out in your reading. 4 cards, major arcana, out of a 10 card spread. So that's quite a few. We have some odd numbered cards. The odd numbered cards can produce tension in the readings, especially like the 5s. Some of the 7s can be a little tense to deal with, so we'll be going over that. And we'll be getting to it very soon. But you, Taurus, are coming out as the Hierophant in the place of the significator. So you are showing up very strongly in your reading this week. So let's see what's going on here. Here in the past, Taurus, we have the Hermit card showing up in the reverse. Now, the Hermit card is about hiding yourself away out of protection and out of a desire to connect more strongly with the higher self and with the higher power. And so when you remove yourself from society at large, you're removing those influences. And one of the things that I often say about the Hermit card is that sometimes the Hermit card will come down and become the Hierophant. So here in the past situation, we see that there's been closure in that Hermit solitude. And that in the current situation, as I mentioned, you are coming out as the Hierophant in the place of the significator. So that's a very strong placement. So you might have had some time in the past that you spent in solitude, and you were using that time to commune with your higher power and try to achieve the higher self. And now in the current situation, the Hierophant, which is a Taurus card in the major arcana, is coming out in the place of the significator. And we have the Hierophant acts as an intermediary between the higher power and the general public. The Hierophant can also represent things like marriage, can represent the status quo, and other things that have to do with societal norms. So kind of has more to do with the societal norm aspects of marriage when we're looking at that. Can be about spiritual leadership as well. So it's possible that you, Taurus, are acting as a spiritual leader. Now we have the 5, which is the Hierophant card. Crossing this is the 5 of Cups. So the 5 of Cups can be about disappointment. It can be about not exactly crying over spilled milk, but a lot of times the things that you are disappointed about, it has to do with loss when we're looking at the 5 of Cups. The cups are emotional cards, so dealing with one's emotions. So here, those tears have been spilled, but here behind the figure, we do still have 2 cups standing. So that could even be a 2 of Cups. There could have been a disappointment, but the marriage still went through. There could be disappointment with your constituency if you're a spiritual leader, which I do kind of get a sense of that from the Hermit card in the reverse in the past and the Hierophant in the upright in the place of the significator in the present. So down here in the MMCLI, the MMCLI is down at the bottom of the reading. I have little gnats in my room, sorry. It's down at the bottom of the reading, and it represents all of the origins and foundations upon which the goal or destiny will be built, and we'll look at that when we get up here to the midheaven, which is above the place of the significator. So what we have down here in the MMCLI is the 5 of Swords. It looks like there is some kind of definitive battle that has been won. So the 5 of Swords does represent victory, but it's victory at a cost of alliances and friendships, such that if it hadn't been pushed quite to that point, these people might still have remained friends. So one person clearly the victor and other people clearly the losers in this situation. Sorry, I'm going to take my shoes off. Okay. So now we're going to look at your perspective on the situation, Taurus. Your perspective is the 2 of Wands, and it's reversed. So it seems like this is not something that you planned for. It seems as though you might have been taken by surprise, or you might just not have felt like you could put a proper plan into place because maybe things were unfolding too quickly for you to see them properly as they unfolded. So there's a few possibilities here, but what it means is even though there's a victory here in this situation, maybe you didn't plan for that to be how it went down. That might be also associated with whatever this disappointment is that's crossing the significator. The Hierophant is a religious leader, So while they might not be as authoritarian as the emperor, for example, they are still somebody who holds a lot of authority. And that might be a factor in this situation. Here, from an outside person's perspective, we have fellow fixed sign Leo's card showing up. And this is the strength card. So we have this person all curled up with this very dangerous beast. Now, they have not conquered this lion through force, but rather by strength of will and strength of character. So they have more persuaded the lion than they have forced the lion. And that could be how people see you at this time, that rather than using force in a situation. Hi, Divine Nation. Yeah, my times have been a little bit crazy this week. I am getting ready to start a new job, and I've had a few things in the evenings that I don't normally have going on. It's good to see you. So people might be seeing you this way in the current situation, Taurus, that you are using your powers of persuasion. There are aspects of manifestation to the strength card also. Not insofar as the magician would be concerned, or even the next card that I'm about to talk about, but that strength card is more manifesting the surroundings that will be conducive to your manifestations. Surrounding yourself with the people who are going to best facilitate those things. So there are aspects of that in the strength card as well. And like I was just saying about the Hierophant being an authority figure, the way that the Hierophant wields that power is not through armies necessarily, but rather by persuasion of the people and by divine authority. But you have to be able to persuade other people that you are truly hearing the voice of the higher power and not just deluding yourself and those around you. So there's a strength to that as well. Oh, good. How convenient. I feel like crawling into bed right now, too. Sometimes I get really sleepy when I do these readings. So the card that we have here for the future is another card that is good for... Oh, no, you haven't missed Virgo yet. I'm just on Taurus now. Is good for manifestation. And that is the Ace of Wands. Now it's showing up in the reverse, but that could mean that the potential is there for future manifestations. That the potential is there for that power to come into your life. And it's really going to depend on how you handle things in the current situation and how the chips fall, as to whether or not this will be coming into the upright or not. Because what might happen otherwise is that you might feel, Taurus, like you're having to surrender your power in a situation. The Ace of Wands can be very much about how we seize our personal power. It is active fire energy. Very much like the Strength card here, very influenced by fire energy. We have this active energy of the Five of Swords. So there is quite a bit of movement in the current situation and in the current environment moving into the future. Now, remember that the crossing card of the significator is this Five of Cups, which would be a passive energy. People sometimes talk about sitting in their disappointment and then getting up to do something about it. So that would be a caution that I would have for you in this situation, Taurus, is to not allow your disappointment to cause you to surrender your power in situations. So now we're going to look at your hopes and fears. And the card that we have in that placement is the Lover's card. Now, it's very interesting when we get major arcana cards in the place of the hopes and fears, because it's purely an internal process. But what this is telling me, this isn't just about relationships. This can also be about duality within the self and choices to be made. So we have the choice between the sacred with the burning bush here and the profane, the fruit-laden bush guarded, or perhaps with the serpent wound around the trunk, enticing people to take that fruit. And we are being judged. So the Lover's card does have a lot in common, even with the Judgment card. There are aspects of judgment to each of those. And the Lover's card can be about that desire to reach for the higher self. Are you going to take the high road, or are you going to take the low road? And the Lover's card can also have to do with your interpersonal relationships, not just romantic relationships. And I don't say this to garble the two in any way, but because the Lover's card is Gemini's card in the major arcana, sometimes we can also be talking about our relationships with siblings, people that we're very close to. Because we're not just talking about romantic love. Again, we're talking about the profane and the sacred. And this is in opposition in the reading to the Two of Wands in the reverse. And we have a bit of duality there too. Now, this would have been a situation where maybe you feel like you couldn't plan for something, or you didn't plan for something. And so that is coming up again. And now you're hoping that maybe that this duality will be settled. Maybe you're hoping that you will be able to see that correct path, that when you reach whatever fork in the road, that it will become apparent what it is that you need to do. There's a lot about moral guidance kind of coming up in this reading, and that kind of harkens back to the Hierophant also. Who is giving the religious leader, the spiritual leader, that guidance? And it's supposed to be the higher power. So one way that we could see this Ace of Wands in the future is also having to do with that relationship with the higher power. Are you going to surrender your own power in this situation? Or are you going to find a way to reconcile your beliefs, what you believe to be correct, with empirical evidence or the opinions of others, or whatever might be coming up at that time? So that's also what we're talking about here with this Lover's card in the hopes and fears. Excuse me. Now we're going to look at the midheaven. So the midheaven, Taurus, is all about the goal or destiny. of this situation, and it's going to be heavily based upon what we had down here in the MMCLI, which was the Five of Swords, which is a victory, but it's a victory at the cost of our relationships. So up in the midheaven, we have this Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is a card of evaluation. What are you putting into a situation, resources-wise, energy-wise, your manifestations, how are they playing out? What are you getting back out of that situation in return? So we do have this card in the upright, and that can mean that you're just in this evaluation process right now. It's an opportunity for you to make adjustments. So this would have been kind of a severe situation, right? How often are we even really put into situations like this, where it really is such a contentious fight? Hi, Clark Smith Adventures. Thank you for stopping by. It's good to see you. And you might be evaluating the relationships in your life. You might be evaluating the source of this disappointment. You might be evaluating your own place as a spiritual leader or a spiritual guide to those around you. Someone to whom others look for moral guidance. The final outcome card. So this is kind of like advice. It can give you warnings about things that you might want to look out for or correct or possibly adjust, because we're looking at some adjustments already with that Seven of Pentacles. We have another seven. So we've got the two passive sevens coming out in your reading, Taurus. This is another card of evaluation. We have all of these different options showing up. Some of them are very good and some of them are not. And this card is showing up for you in the reverse, in the final outcome position. So if we're looking at this as a card that could be the future, I feel like these two cards are going to be very linked to each other. That if you give up your power in a situation, you're also going to be giving up access to all of these options. And some of these options you are going to want. We have victory, we have like this castle in the sky. Those might be things that you actually want moving forward. This card is showing up in opposition to the Strength card. So your strength is going to be in your decision making in this particular situation. And because we have the cups here and not one of the active suits, that's going to be trusting your heart, trusting your gut, more so than looking at these issues from a purely logical way, like we would be if we saw swords here. There's only the one sword showing up in your reading, which is the Five of Swords. The Ace of Wands can also be about your passions. So you're going to want to pay attention to where your passions lie primarily, and also paying attention to your intuition, what you're hearing in your heart and in your gut, and also paying attention to the messages that you might receive from your higher power. And that is how you are going to navigate this decision-making process moving forward, Taurus. Overall, I feel like the crux of the situation really boils down to this Five of Swords and this Five of Cups. That the disappointment stems from missing out on these relationships because this situation got very contentious.
And because you are showing up as the Hierophant instead of somebody like the Emperor, that you would have preferred for everyone to get the best out of the situation that was possible. So it's not your fault that those other people wanted to get very contentious about it, basically make it the hill that they were going to die on. It's obvious that it was very important to you, Taurus. But don't let that limit your options moving forward. Don't feel like you did something wrong and that you're going to have to correct it moving forward. Look at it as the people who are meant to be around you will remain in your sphere of influence. And sometimes people will remove themselves if it's not right. And there might be some intricacies that differ because, of course, this is a general reading. But overall, that's kind of what I'm getting from your reading this week, Taurus. So,
a big happy birthday to my Taurians out there. That is going to conclude your reading for this week. I'm going to go after this live stream to the members side of the channel. I will be doing some crystal scrying with this chunk of smoky quartz and fielding any other questions that might crop up. So if that is of interest to you, you are cordially invited. But your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated in whatever form it takes. Thank you.
So next, I am going to read for the sign of Virgo. And I know that we have a couple of Virgos in the chat already. So if you would like, Virgo, go ahead and set your intention. Just allow any thoughts that you'd like to address in the reading to float up to the forefront of your mind and wait there patiently while I shuffle the cards. And if these are things that are stressful or troubling to you, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. As you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source. Allow it to fill every fiber of your being, from the crown of your head down through the soles of your feet. And then as you exhale, just sigh out any of that tension or stress or discomfort. You can even do a little bit of a body scan. Start down in the very tips of your toes and work your way up to the crown of your head. And anywhere that you're feeling discomfort or tension or stress, just gently breathe through that energy and release it. And it will be returned to Source, and it will be transmuted. So now let me deal the cards out for Virgo. Mm-hmm. And I will write down your timestamp.
I got into some Gorilla Glue earlier. I wanted to stick a heel back on one of my boots. And so my nails got Gorilla Glue on them.
All right, Virgo. Let's look at the past. It looks like we have a couple of major arcana cards. A few major arcana cards. A lot of pentacles for you this week, Virgo. Starting with this one in the past. We have the Six of Pentacles, and it is in the reverse, showing that there has been closure on this situation. So the Six of Pentacles in the past might have been a period of time where you had much more money coming in than you had flowing out again. And you might have taken this opportunity to give to charity. You might have taken this opportunity to invest or even to speculate. The Six of Pentacles is a card about that ebb and flow of money through our existences. And not just money, but other resources, energy, material wealth, all kinds of things. So there might have been a period in the recent past where you had an abundance of energy to give to other people's projects, for example, or you were able to invest in people's projects that you believed in, or even just give money away to charity. But that card is showing up in the reverse in the past. So it looks like that period of time has kind of passed for you right now, Virgo. So let's see what is in the current situation. We have Sagittarius's card, the Temperance card, and it is crossed by the Four of Wands. So this Four of Wands can sometimes talk about buying property or starting building on a property. We have this Ramada behind these dancing figures in the foreground, which shows that you're building that foundation. The Four of Wands can sometimes be a card of marriage. It is a card of celebration, things that are to be celebrated. And some people, depending on how you feel about angelic numbers and synchronicity numbers and things like that, some people call the Four of Wands the 1111 card because the two sets of poles look like 1111 on the card. So the Temperance card is about balance. It's about patience. It's about moderation. It's also about practice and putting in the effort, the daily routines that lead you to success is what the Temperance card is all about. So there could be cause to celebrate because you have had this moderation in your life, Virgo. And this could even be moderation in one's spending. So as much as you might have been giving to charity or investing in other people, you might also have made sure you were investing in yourself enough that you had ample resources, and now that has paid off for you in some way. So down here in the Imam Sili, the Imam Sili is down at the bottom underneath the significator, which represents you in the reading. And it represents the origins and foundations of the goal or destiny that we'll be looking at up here above the significator when we read for the Midheaven card. But right now we're talking about the Imam Sili. And in that position, we have the Eight of Swords in the reverse. So this card is about being trapped, but not very firmly, right? She could easily shimmy out of this ribbon that is wrapped around her and kind of be able to see where the castle is, where all these swords are placed, and get around them. And because this card is in the reverse, in the Imam Sili, it shows that you right now are getting out of a stuck situation. You are freeing yourself from bondage, Virgo, in some way, shape, or form. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that, and I do
We all go through cycles, and hopefully there will be a good one coming in for you soon. I think a lot of things are going to start turning around again as we come further and further out of the pandemic. Some things are going to change for the better, and some things might not change as much as we would like them to, but I think places are starting to open up more and more now.
So from your perspective, kind of what Clark Smith Adventures was just talking about is that we have the Page of Pentacles showing up from your perspective in the current situation, Virgo, and it's showing up in the reverse. Now, the Page of Pentacles is Earth of Earth energy, so very much elemental Earth energy. And the pages are all about bringing these things down into concretion on the material plane. So where we have the Page of Cups, they're bringing that offer down into concretion. The Page of Swords, they're bringing that information down into concretion. And the Page of Pentacles is all about manifesting an opportunity. Now, your perspective on the current situation is that you have not been able to manifest this financial opportunity that you really, really wanted, or that you even need right now. Because I do see in the past that you had a situation where you had much more financial flexibility. But that's just your perspective on this situation. An outside person's perspective on this situation is even more interesting. We have the Death card in the reverse. And the Death card is all about change and transformation. And if you look back here, you actually see the pillars that are on the Moon card, I believe, but we're seeing them at sunset rather than in the depths of night. Now, when we see the Death card showing up in the reverse in a current placement, which this would be somebody else's opinion about what's going on, or their perspective rather, people around you are not seeing the change. They're not seeing any kind of major transformation. In fact, you have moved on, because after the Death card comes the Temperance card. And we also have this celebration here, this potential for things like buying property and getting married and things. So you are coming unstuck, but others don't see that about you right now. And there are aspects of it that you also do not see at this time. Let's see what else we have here. So in the future, Virgo, we have the Emperor card, and he's showing up in the upright. The Emperor is very powerful, very authoritative. He has the Crux Ansata as his scepter, and he has the Holy Hand Grenade right here. The Emperor card is associated with Aries. Aries is the ruler of the first house, the house of self, the house of beginnings. The Emperor card is you taking control in your own existence in the future, Virgo, which might involve financial resources coming your way. Here in your hopes and fears, we have the Three of Pentacles, and this card is in the upright. This card has to do with your professional relationships, your reputation, and your ability to work with others. And you are hoping you'll have the opportunity to work with others in the future. This is a situation where we're a little bit past the point of the Ace of Pentacles or the Page of Pentacles, that you're already a bit established in this field as well. So I think that's what you're hoping for at this time. Something that you're already a bit established in to start paying off for you. Your professional reputation and the potential to work with others in a group. Here in the midheaven.
So, what we see in the midheaven is going to be the result of getting yourself unstuck here with this Eight of Swords in the reverse.
And what we see in the midheaven is the Knight of Pentacles, and the Knight of Pentacles is showing up reverse. So now we got a little fire under the situation. The Knights are fire energy and the Pentacles being earth energy. So we've stepped up this potential one more notch, such that now we have the potential in the future for this money to come in. But there are still things that need to be done. And it might have had something to do with how you went about getting unstuck. Sometimes when animals are caught in a trap, they'll chew their own leg off to get free, right? It's not a very pleasant imagery to bring up in an ASMR video, so I apologize for that, but we are reading tarot here. So there might have been things that you did because you felt like you were coming from a place of scarcity in order to free yourself. It does look like you're acting from moderation, that you are acting from level-headedness. And I encourage you to continue in that vein. Don't do things because you feel desperate. Don't do things because you feel like you're coming from a place of lack, because it's only going to put you further away from this manifestation here. It doesn't mean that it's not coming in, but it does mean that we haven't locked it in yet. And the card that we have in the final outcome sometimes gives us more advice. And it is in opposition to other people's opinions of the situation. So this Death card could be that people don't perceive changes in you and your situation, but the Death card in the reverse like this could also mean that people don't perceive changes in the situation overall, and therefore are not quite ready to act on things yet. And that's why things are still moving kind of slowly. So if you push too hard, you have the potential to break it off rather than bend it into place, right? And the final outcome card that we get is Heir of Air energy. Very logical thinking. Able to maneuver morally gray situations very clearly until we reach a satisfactory outcome, and that is the King of Swords. Using one's powers of communication, persuasion, logic, knowing when to act, knowing when to lay off. So that is going to be my advice for you moving forward, Virgo, is rather than focusing on the tangible, the financial, those things are very important. But understand too that there might be people involved in these situations who are not ready to act. And where we see that death card showing up in the reverse, this is not just minor arcana energy. This major arcana energy is a lot more direct, a lot stronger, and has a more global connotation to it. And when I say that, what I mean is that we're not just talking about you and your life, Virgo, but rather everything surrounding this situation. So people might just not be ready to act yet. And we have to be able to tap into this and double down on it. And you are not trapped. You're not trapped in this situation. You have gotten unstuck. So don't do anything out of a feeling of desperation that's going to end up holding you back more long term. And that is going to conclude my Virgo reading for this week. After I do the Capricorn reading, I'm going to go over to the members side of the channel and do a live stream. I'll be using this smoky quartz to do crystal scrying, but I'll also be fielding questions as they arise. If that is of interest to you, you are cordially invited. But of course, your presence here on the channel is greatly appreciated in whatever form it takes. Clark Smith Adventures, I'm glad to hear that you got useful information out of that reading. Thank you for your feedback. So now I'm going to read for the sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn, if you would like to go ahead and set your intention for the reading, just allow any concerns that you have. Oh, concern that I have. Hold on a moment. I have an alarm set for 7 p.m. No reason, just a 7 p.m. alarm. So Capricorn, if you'd like to allow all of those thoughts that you'd like to address in the reading to rise up into the forefront of your thoughts and gently wait there while I shuffle the cards. Now, if any of these things are stressful to you or they cause you anxiety, I invite you to gently breathe through that energy. As you inhale, draw in the divine white light of Source into every fiber of your being, from the crown of your head down through the soles of your feet and into the ground below. And then as you exhale, just release all of that tension and stress, any nervous energy that you're holding on to. You can start down in the tips of your toes and kind of do a body scan all the way up to your head. And anywhere that you feel tension or stress or pressure or tightness, just gently release that with your breath, and it will be returned to Source, and it will be transmuted. So let me write down your timestamp, Capricorn. Okay. And we'll start in the past for you. see endings, I see beginnings, I see a few major arcana cards. So let's get right into it. Here in the past, Capricorn, we have the Four of Cups, and it is showing up in the upright. So this would have been a period of time in the past where you were contemplating a few different options. You had these 3 cups that you didn't really care about too much, and then there was this other cup, this hypothetical cup, that's kind of waiting up here in the clouds, and it's being held by this divine hand. So you're just kind of waiting for it to be dropped gently in your lap. Now, this card is in the upright in the past. So we don't really have closure on this situation yet. It is perpetuating into our current situation. So what we have there we have the Queen of Pentacles in the place of the significator. And this is definitely you showing up in the reading, Capricorn. Queen of Pentacles is water of earth energy. And it's all about the fertile proliferation of resources. Queen of Pentacles can sometimes be about pregnancy, much like the Empress card. The Empress card and the Queen of Pentacles are very similar, with some subtle differences. Empress card, of course, being the divine feminine, and the Queen of Pentacles mostly being focused on these two passive energies combining to generate. So usually we're taking an active energy and a passive energy to create that generation, that fertility. But here we're able to use water, the sun, and the soil to grow massive fields of crops and gain this proliferation. Sometimes the Queen of Pentacles has a bunny rabbit here on her card. I don't see a bunny rabbit here. She looks rather stern also. Could even be thought of like parthenogenesis, which is certain species are capable of fertilizing themselves. And this is reinforced by the World card here, that idea of something springing forth from a single parent, from a single set of genetic information. The World card is also about closures, concretion, establishment. It is Saturn energy. It is elemental earth energy. So we have 2 cards here that are strongly elemental earth energy. The World card is also associated with the fixed signs. So a very stable energy and very much about endings and wrapping everything up into a nice little bow at the end of the storyline. So it might be time to harvest some crops that you have planted. I realize not all of you play Farmville still, so this might be other things in your life which you have started a long time ago and which have flourished and grown over time. And now it's ready to harvest them. So now we are starting to see closure on this Four of Cups situation. And we still have to find out, did this option ever materialize? So down here in the Imam Silai, the Imam Silai is down here at the bottom of the card. It represents the origins and foundations upon which the goal or destiny will be built. And that is what is up here in the midheaven. We'll look at that above the place of the significator in a little while. What we have in the Imam Silai today is pure earth energy. So a lot of earth energy showing up in your reading this week, Capricorn. The Ace of Pentacles can be manifestation of material wealth and goods coming down and being brought into the physical plane. And of course, this can be resources. It's not necessarily energy. That would be more Ace of Wands, but it does have to do with things that are resources, money, land, opportunities, and can have your energies wrapped up in it, insofar as that is also a resource that you hold. This is the beginning of something. So we have a closure and we have the beginning of a new cycle. Here, from your perspective, we have the King of Pentacles, and he's showing up in the reverse. The King of Pentacles is often associated with Taurus because he's very stable. This is air of earth energy. So it's a balance of these two opposing forces, the active air and the passive earth energy. Able to manifest instantaneously financial resources for himself. Now, where we see this card showing up in the reverse, there might be a fear to act, especially if there's speculation concerned, because there's a fear of losing one's resources. There might be someone overly reliant on being able to do things the way that they've done them in the past. So an over reliance on one's past actions, that you'll be able to keep doing that and keep making money the way that you had before. So you might be seeing yourself as almost like a dinosaur in some ways. We do have a lot of new investment markets now that are incredibly volatile and may or may not stay the course over time, may or may not make it. And you might be seeing all this and see where there's all this money to be made and be feeling like you don't want to take that risk, or not knowing how to take that risk. You could also be feeling like that you're not able to manifest resources as quickly as you have in the past, but that's just your perspective. As I talk about with the Empress card, the way that the active fertility and the passive fertility work are very different. The active fertility is kind of like snap your fingers and it's there. God said, let there be light, and there was light. The passive fertility requires that gestation period and that accumulation over time. So I do see here, Capricorn, that you are adequately moving forward as that Queen of Pentacles. And that there's a establishment there for you in that, with that World card crossing. So the fact that you can't just snap your fingers and have all of the money and resources that you want is neither here nor there. I mean, we see that coming in from the past with this Four of Cups, right? All of these are fine, but this is the one that you really want here. So from an outside person's perspective, looking in on your situation, Capricorn, we have the Star card in the reverse. The Star card can be about our social groups. It's mostly about hopes and dreams coming true, being fulfilled, coming to fruition. A lot of people may be able to see what your hopes and dreams are, and might be seeing that at this time they aren't being fulfilled. Now, it's not that none of your hopes and dreams are being fulfilled. It's just that maybe the ones that you had publicly, people are not able to see that about you at this time. Um, your neighboring sign, Aquarius, this is their card in the major arcana. So now we're going to look at a fellow cardinal signs card, and this is in the future. And the card that I have for you in the future, Capricorn, is the Justice card in the reverse. This is Libra's card, obviously, fellow cardinal sign, being true to your direction, more so than true to yourself, or like a mutable sign, flexible. So, where we see this Justice card coming out in the reverse in the future, it doesn't mean that you won't be getting justice, or that justice won't be served, or that justice will be served, but it will be against your favor. It's possible that there are things that need to be ironed out still before this takes place, before justice will be able to be served. That there are other things that need to come to pass first. And so we need to wait on this slightly slower form of manifestation for these things to play out, because we're at the beginning of this cycle. We're at the beginning of this new cycle. So there might be things that you need to do in order to bring justice into yourself. And we'll look at that a little bit more as we continue through the reading. Here in the hopes and fears. So Capricorn, in the hopes and fears, we have the Knight of Cups, and it's showing up in the reverse. Now, this is in opposition to that King of Pentacles showing up in the reverse. The Knight of Cups, when they're showing up in the reverse like this, it can mean a couple of things. You could be afraid that people are not going to bring support to you, because the Knight of Cups can sometimes be emotional support rushing in toward you. It's fire of water, so it's balanced. The other two, this one is air and earth. The Knight of Cups is balanced fire and water. It can also be in reverse if you feel like you can't trust your gut, you can't trust your heart, you can't trust your intuition. And you might be afraid of those things. And finally, you might also be afraid that you come off as overly emotional. Now, that's a funny fear for a Capricorn to have. But it is a possibility, especially if you want to be so cold and so emotionless. You might be terrified of showing any emotion at all. But these are very different people, even in the reverse. This King of Pentacles, very focused on the pragmatic, very focused on stability. The Knight of Cups, very invested in the intuition, listening to one's heart and one's gut. So as long as you're not overly invested in either one of those, you won't end up being fractured by it. There is water aspects to the Queen of Pentacles, that sometimes your emotions get caught up in these things too. And so I could see how that Queen of Pentacles might end up being this middle ground for you between the King of Pentacles reversed and the Knight of Cups reversed. That you feel like you're not able to reconcile these things when in fact you're reconciling them just fine. So now we're going to look at the midheaven. And this is going to be the result of this new beginning. Now, what we have here, it's very interesting, and it is a little bit difficult to read in the context of this situation overall because it's the Ten of Swords. Now, the Ten of Swords is an ending, it is a definitive ending. But whether or not it really ends up looking this much different from the World card, for example, that is up to your perspective. If you are already feeling like being the Queen of Pentacles and manifesting these things slowly over time is too much of a compromise, then when things do come to an end, are you really going to be satisfied with the outcome? The final outcome for your reading is the Page of Wands. So here we have Earth of Fire energy, bringing your passions down into the concrete plane. There's a lot of focus here on one's emotional states and one's financial states, but this is the only wand showing up in your reading. And I know that Capricorns have a tendency towards pragmatism, what is practical in a situation, being professional. But it's important for you to still explore your passions. What is it that you're really passionate about? What is it that you want to be putting out there into the world? Because, of course, Page of Wands also is all about that fiery expression, just like the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands. They're all very much about the passion behind your projects and the expression of that passion out into the world around you. And I'm not seeing enough of that here, Capricorn. That's why people don't see that your hopes and dreams are being fulfilled. And it could even be holding you back from whatever this justice, this balance in a situation might be. Because I do see a lot of balance here. The potential for that balance is here. And it's all up to you, Capricorn, and your interpretation of how things are unfolding around you. So that is going to conclude the Capricorn reading for this week. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you who came out for the live stream. I want to say a big thank you to all of you who watch the live streams later. I am going to be going now over to the member side of the channel to do the live stream. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you again. Very, very